This would be the AIDS fraud that has been perpetrated against the world for about 40 years now. And before I get started, I would first like to acknowledge that yes, there truly are many sick people out there with conditions that the medical industry, through the government in the 1980s, grouped under a single umbrella and gave it the name of AIDS. And they claim that this group of conditions is caused by a monster virus known as HIV. The truth of why they are sick, however, has nothing whatsoever to do with the claims made by these AIDS fraudsters. And please also understand that most people working in the AIDS industry have no idea that it was founded on fraud. They trust the information and procedures they were given by the government scientists who first made the AIDS decree without any scientific proof. Most people in the medical field are good people trying to do good things and support their families. The problem is that they were indoctrinated just like everyone else in a system of lies. This fraud has destroyed countless lives and families of those who put their trust in government and the medical industry, and it has also stolen upwards of $250 billion from the rest of us. I call it the moon landing of the medical industrial complex because it is a good introduction into the reality of what has been going on in our germ theory of medicine. Like the moon landing, it doesn't take much time and research to understand that AIDS is one giant fraud of epic proportions. There is so much information, expert testimony, and documentaries available that I'm amazed the lie persists, just like the moon landing. More and more prominent doctors, scientists, and researchers are speaking out, and they pay a heavy price, as I'm sure you can imagine. But like the moon landing, in my opinion, it takes faith to believe in AIDS, because logic and reason will lead you to the fact that there is not one single proof that supports the HIV house of cards. Now, I would like to present a few clips from 3 of such individuals. First, you'll see Dr. Robert Wellner, a very knowledgeable and well-spoken critic of the HIV virus theory of AIDS. Then Nobel Prize-winning microbiologist Kary Mullis, who, by the way, invented the PCR reaction test that is used to detect HIV. You know there's a problem when the guy who invented one of the tests calls the virus theory bogus. As you watch, you'll learn exactly what these tests show. Lastly, you will see chemist and biologist Dr. David Raznick, interviewed by Dr. Len Saputo, and Dr. Raznick calls AIDS a criminal hoax, and I completely agree with that statement. The lives that have been destroyed by the AIDS misdiagnosis and the deadly treatment, usually with AZT, a chemotherapy drug from the 1960s that was shelved because it was too toxic. This to me screams of genocide. The money that has been stolen, upwards of $250 billion through our government alone, is staggering. In 2017, the US federal government will spend $34 billion to fight an imaginary monster called HIV. That's almost double NASA's budget, folks. So hopefully this video will introduce you to the AIDS fraud, which I believe is the moon landing of the medical industrial complex, because it is so obvious. Whether you take it any further is up to you, but the AIDS fraud is a good start. Be aware that it can also be used as gatekeeping so that you don't go any further into the failure of germ theory, sort of like those who acknowledge the moon landing hoax, yet they still believe in NASA and space claims. And that being said, even if you just look into AIDS, at least it is something. And it is extremely important because not only is the AIDS fraud claiming countless lives and destroying families, it is also robbing us blind.